Ranking all the skins inside Marvel Rivals Season 1. So let's start off with Adam Warlock. Now, I think Adam Warlock's original character design is almost perfect for this hero. I think there's not really much they could have done better on this. Maybe they could have made his staff a little bit cooler, but that's the only thing. So I'm going to give this one an A. Then we have his Guardians of the Galaxy skin. Now, I do also like this one as well. I just don't like the fact that he's got short hair here. I think it just doesn't look as cool, but the design on this one is still pretty decent. So I'm going to give this one an A as well. Then we've got his Season 1 Blood Soul Battle Pass skin. Now, I'm not a massive fan of this. I thought I was originally going to like this one, but I don't really like it the more I look at it, to be honest. So I'm actually going to give this one a B. And last but not least, we've got his alternate colorway skin, which is absolutely horrendous in my opinion. I don't like this one whatsoever. So this is going to be an F tier. Next up, we've got Black Panther, and his default skin is absolutely amazing. It's pretty much spot on, to be honest, but there's not too much to it, so I'm going to give it an A. Then we've got his Bass Chosen skin. Now, this is very original. This is something like I've not personally seen before. I don't know if he's got a skin like this or there's a version of him like this in the comics. This is really cool, but it's not my personal favorite, but I can understand why people do like this one, so I'm going to give it an A as well. Now, this Galactic Claw Black Panther skin is an absolute S tier skin in this game. If you want to spend your money on one of these skins, then this is the one, but you can't even get it anymore because it's a Season 0 Battle Pass skin. Then we've got this red skin, which looks more like Daredevil, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. I would put this in B tier just if you like red. Next up, we've got Black Widow, and I think this skin is pretty spot on for Black Widow in general. This is the base skin, but I'm not a massive fan of this one, even though it's her base skin and it's very comic book accurate. So I'm going to give this one a B. Next up, we've got our white skin. Now, this is the one that I actually think is pretty decent. I think this is probably Black Widow's best skin in this game. So I'm going to give this one an A tier. Then we've got her Lion's Heartbeat skin, which I'm not a huge fan of this one. In my opinion, this is also a B as well. And lastly, we've got our alternate colorway skin, which in my opinion, this is absolutely horrible. So this is going in F tier. Next up, we've got Bruce Banner / the Hulk, and we're going to go through his skins now. So as you can see, as we go through the default skin, there's not really too much design to this, but I'm going to give this one a B tier because there's not really too much to it, if I'm being perfectly honest. Next up, we've got the Green Scar skin. Now, this one has got tons of design to it. Really, really cool. The ultimate version looks insanely crazy. And then we've also got the Bruce Banner version of this too. I think this is an absolute S tier skin. This is amazing, this skin. Then we've got his alternate colorway skin here, which is kind of like the Grey Hulk, but I'm not a massive fan of this one, so I'm putting it in F tier. Next up, we've got Captain America's skin, and this is the default skin, and I think they've nailed this one spot on for this hero, and I do think this is an absolute A tier skin for Captain America. I think it's got nice colors, the character design is really good as well. Next up, we've got his Infinity War skin. Now, this one is the skin you want to be going for if you're playing Captain America. This skin is the coolest skin when it comes to Captain America in this game, so this one's absolutely S tier. I love this skin, I think it's perfect. Then we have his Captain Gladiator skin. Me personally, I'm not a huge fan of this, and I like different, so I'm going to give this an A just because they went out their way to design a whole new character for this. And lastly, we have the yellow Captain America skin. Now, I don't hate this one. I think in general, it's an okay colorway, so I'm going to give it a B just because of the fact that the colorway is decent and it's not absolutely horrendous. Next up, we've got Cloak and Dagger. Now, these are two heroes combined into one, but I just don't think there's a lot going on with this hero's skin in general. So there's not too much going on here, so I'm going to give it a B tier. I just don't think this is the best one. Then we've got the Growth and Decay skin. Now, this one is a cool skin, and I hope to see more like this for Cloak and Dagger because she's a very popular hero and the skins will sell well. So I do really like this one. I think there could be a bit more done to it, but I think this is an A tier skin. Definitely a solid one, definitely the best one for this hero. Then we have the alternate colorway skin for Cloak and Dagger. Now, I don't actually hate this. I just think it's not that great. I mean, the base skin is not the best either, so I'm also going to give this one a B as well. Next up, we've got Doctor Strange, and for his base skin, I actually think this is really solid. I do like this a lot. I think Doctor Strange is the cool looking character in general, and the design on this is very nice. So I'm going to give this an A. I think it's absolutely solid. Next up, we've got the Sorcerer Immortal skin, but if you do like this, then that's your preference. For me, it's a B tier. Then we have the Sorcerer Supreme of the Galaxy skin. Now, I do like one of his other skins slightly more than this one, but I do think this one's also an absolute S tier skin for Doctor Strange. Then we also have his God of Magic, which is my personal favorite Doctor Strange skin. And this is such a cool skin as well, man. He's got some really good skins here, and this is also S tier in my opinion. Then we have his alternate colorway skin, and I think I actually have seen this in the movies and things, the Black Magic Doctor Strange. I think they could have made this a little bit more darker maybe, but I do think this is actually not a bad skin at all, especially for an alternate colorway skin. So I'm going to give this an A tier. Next up, we've got Groot, and I think Groot's character design is basically perfect for this hero. I think there's not really much they could have done better on this skin whatsoever. So I'm actually going to give this one S tier. I think this is absolutely solid. But then we have his Guardians of the Galaxy skin. Now, I'm not a personal fan of this. I know this is like a more beefed up version of the Groot and it's slightly different, but I think the main design is actually way better than this. So I'm actually going to give this one a B tier. I'm not a massive fan of this one. Then we have his alternate colorway skin, and I actually do like this. I actually think the colorways on this skin is pretty solid, to be honest. So I'm going to give this one an A tier. I really like this skin actually. Now, the only other skin I think was amazing with Groot, which you can't get anymore, was his Christmas skin. I think this is absolutely S tier. What an amazing skin this was. Next up, we've got Hawkeye. Now, I do think his character design is pretty solid. I do actually like this one. I think there's something missing though, and I'm not quite sure what it is. So I'm actually going to give it A tier. Next up, we've got the Free Fall skin. Now, I'm not a massive fan of this one. I don't really think it looks cool in its slightest. I think it's okay. It's not the worst skin in the game, so I am going to give it B tier. I don't think it's great. Then we have the Tiger's Eye, which is the gold skin. Again, I think this is basically the same as the original skin. The colorway is actually pretty decent, so I'll still give it A tier. But I think the skin that we all want to buy again for Hawkeye is the Galactic Fang skin. This is an absolute S tier skin. Next up, we've got Hela's skins, and I do think her main skin is absolutely solid. I do quite like the character design for this hero, actually. I think they've designed it pretty well. And I think this is an absolute S tier skin. I'm not going to lie to you, it's probably one of the better default skins in this game. Then we have her Goddess of Death skin. I don't think this is as good as the base one, to be honest. I do think it's still pretty decent though, because they have changed a lot of the design here. So I'm going to give this an A tier. Next up, we've got our Cosmos skin. Now, I'm not a massive fan of this skin personally. I can appreciate the fact that they have designed a lot of elements of this skin again. And again, there's really cool aspects to this skin, so I am going to give it A tier for that reason. And then when it comes to our alternate colorway skin, I actually think this is really solid, to be honest. Black and red always go well together, so I think this is actually a really solid colorway and a good skin as well, so I'm going to also give this one A tier. Next up, we've got the Invisible Woman, and I do think her base skin is pretty basic, to be honest. There's not really much to it. It is not great, so I'm going to give this B tier. I don't think there's too much to this. Then we have the Malice skin. I'm not a massive fan of this one either. I know a lot of people love this skin, to be honest, so I am going to give this A tier just because it is better than the base design, but it's not my favorite skin. And then we have the blue Fantastic Four skin, and again, I'm not a massive fan of this. Again, I think the character design of this is pretty basic, to be honest. There's not really too much to it. So I am going to give this B tier as well. Next up, we've got Iron Fist, and I think his character design is pretty spot on. I actually really do like his character design in general. I think basically there's not really much we can change about the skin, so I do think it's A tier. Then we have the Lion's Gaze skin, and I do actually think this is pretty solid, to be honest, so I'm also going to give this one an A tier as well. Then we have the Swordmaster skin. Now, there's not too much to this hero where they can make it like insanely good, so I'm going to give this one A tier as well. And then for his alternate colorway skin, again, he looks a bit like some anime characters in this one. But again, I think the alternate colorway is pretty cool. There's nothing too bad about this, so I'm going to give this A tier as well. Next up, we've got Iron Man. Now, I do think Iron Man's base design is absolutely solid, as we could say for pretty much every hero in this game, to be honest. The art style was perfect. I do think this one is really cool. I think we can get a lot better for Iron Man skins, and I'm waiting for some really good ones, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. But I'm going to give this one A tier. I do think this is absolutely solid. But then we've got Iron Man's black skin. I think this is one of the free ones that we got with Season 0 in terms of colorway. So I am going to go B tier on this one. Then we've got the Superior Iron Man skin, and again, I'm not a massive fan of this one. I think Iron Man has so many skin options And then picking this one is probably not the best. So again, I'm going to give this one B tier. It's not my personal favorite. I know some people will like this one. Next up, we've got his endgame skin, and this is just so close to the base skin that it's kind of pointless even buying it, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. And I think the base design is actually slightly better than this one. So again, I'm just going to give this one a B tier, because if you've got the base skin, which everyone does, there's no point in even getting this one. Then we've got the Blood Edge armor skin, not my personal favorite, but I think it is a good redesign, so I am going to give this A tier. I think they can go better when it comes to Iron Man skins. There's so many options to pick from. Then we've got Jeff the Shark, and we're going to fly through these ones because they're all very similar, to be honest. There's not really too much of a redesign between any of them, if I'm being perfectly honest. So his base skin, I'm just going to give A tier, just because I've never heard of Jeff the Shark until I actually played this game, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. It is meant to be a cute skin, but I just don't really think it's all that great, if I'm being perfectly honest. So I'm going to give this a B tier. Then we have the Cuddly skin, and again, I'm not a massive fan of this one. I actually think this is worse than the previous one. So I'm going to give this F tier. I'm not a massive fan of this at all. Then we've got the grey one, and again, this is going to be F tier for me. I just don't think the Jeff skins are great. Then we have Loki's base skin. I do think his base skin is actually a pretty cool design in general. I don't think there's too much different they could have done to this, if I'm being honest with you. So I am going to give this A tier. I do think it's a pretty nice design. Then we've got his All Butcher skin. Now, I actually do like this one. I actually think this is one of Loki's better designs with the animated movement parts. I think it just looks really, really cool. There is probably better skins they could do for Loki, but this is probably his best one, so I'm going to say this is A tier as well. I just don't really like this skin whatsoever, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. They could have chose something better, so I'm going to give this F tier. Then they've got the alternate colorway skin, which is the Bifrost one, and again, I think they could have done something slightly better than that, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, in terms of colorways. So again, I'm going to give this one F tier as well. Next up, we've got Luna Snow's skin. The base skin is pretty decent. I've never really heard of this hero much before this game. There's not really too much to it though, if I'm being perfectly honest, so I'm actually going to give this one a B tier. Then we have the Shining Star skin. I think this one is slightly better in my opinion, so I am going to give this one an A tier. The alternate colorway skin is absolutely horrible in my opinion. I don't like this whatsoever, so I'm going to give this an F tier. I still don't think it's amazing though, so I am going to give this an A tier. It's probably the best skin for Luna Snow in general. Then we've got Magic's base skin. Absolutely solid character design here for this hero, and then obviously when you go out of it, it does look pretty cool as well. So I do think her base design is A tier, definitely a solid design here. Then we have our Eldritch armor skin, which is such a cool character design, man. This is really, really cool. Then we've got the ultimate version, which just looks absolutely insane, by the way. This is an S tier skin by far. What a skin this is in this game. Then we have our alternate colorway skin, which is actually not too bad, to be honest. The purple colorway does actually look pretty decent. I don't think it's anything amazing, but it's a B tier in my opinion. Magic did also have a Christmas skin as well, which I'm showing you on screen just now. I actually don't think this is great at all, to be perfectly honest with you. I think the other skins are way better, so I'm going to give this an F tier. Next up, we have Magneto. Now, Magneto's base skin, I actually really like this, to be honest. I think the colorways they chose for the base skin are absolutely solid. His design as well, really cool too. I like this a lot, to be honest. I think this is an absolute A tier skin for Magneto, I think. Then they have his Battle Pass skin for Season 1, and again, this is a pretty solid skin in general. Some people will like this, some people won't like this, but I'm not a massive fan of this one. I think this is B tier personally, but I know some people that will really like this design. Then we have Magneto's OG colorway skin, and again, I think it's pretty solid, but some people will really like this one, but me personally, I'm not a huge fan, so I'm going to give this an A tier. And then we've got his Black Steel skin, and I think this is the best skin for Magneto. This is absolutely S tier. Then we have Mantis, and her base skin's actually pretty solid. I actually really like her design, to be honest. I think it does look pretty cool. There's a little bit going on here and enough for a base skin. I do think this is an absolutely A tier skin. Then we have the Galactic Wing skin. This is an absolutely S tier skin for Mantis. This is probably the best skin she's got in the game. Then we've got the Guardians of the Galaxy skin. Pretty basic here. There's not really too much to it. I understand they're trying to copy the movie, so I mean, for that reason, it could be pretty cool, but I don't think this is worth like anyone trying to get. So I do think this is a B tier skin. Then we've got the Jade Maiden skin, and again, I actually think this is a pretty solid one for some of the designs out there actually, so I actually quite like this. I think this is A tier. I think the design is slightly different enough, and it does look pretty cool in my opinion. Then we've got the alternate colorway Mantis skin, and again, I think it is pretty decent, but it's nothing too special here, so I'm going to give this a B tier. Then we've got Mr. Fantastic, and similar to the Invisible Woman, there's not really too much going on with this skin, to be honest. It's pretty basic. So I am going to give this a B tier. There's really not much. The Maker skin is the best skin for Mr. Fantastic. I do think this is an A tier skin. They could have some other ones that are slightly better, hopefully in the future. And then we have the First Family skin, or the blue skin, and once again, I think it looks slightly better on Mr. Fantastic, if I'm being perfectly honest, but again, there's nothing too special here, so I'm going to give this a B tier as well. Next up, we've got Moon Knight, and his base design is absolutely spot on in this game. I don't think there's too much they could have done wrong here. Absolutely an S tier design for Marvel Rivals on Moon Knight. Then we've got the black skin, which again is just a really cool alternate colorway. I do still think the base skin is slightly better though, so I am going to give this an A tier, but black and red you can't really go wrong with. Next up, we've got the Lunar General skin. I'm not a fan of this one. I think it takes far too much away from the base hero, to be honest. But I'm not a massive fan of this one, so I'm actually going to give it a B tier, to be honest with you. Then we've got the Mr. Knight skin, which is absolutely spot on. And I think this is an S tier skin as well. I know there's not too much going on with this, but I just love Moon Knight, so I just think this is an absolutely solid skin in this game. Next up, we've got Namor, and Namor is my main hero in this game. I think his character design is absolutely spot on. I think it's probably the best Namor has ever looked in anything, to be honest. So I'm actually going to give this skin an S tier, and I'm not just saying that because I like Namor, but then we have his alternate colorway skin, which as you can see, I've already got this one as well. I am going to give this one an A tier. Then we've got his Black Panther skin, which to be honest, I don't like this at all. I don't like the skin whatsoever. Some people might like this one, but I'm not a massive fan of it whatsoever. I actually think this is like an F tier skin, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. Then we've got his Battle Pass skin, which is absolutely solid as well. I think this is a really, really nice skin design. I think they could have done a bit more with it, but I do really like this one as well. I think this is an absolutely A tier design. Next up, we've got Penny Parker, and this is a funny one because the design on this one is just pointless. It's so pointless. So the base design for this hero is actually pretty cool in my opinion. I do think it's pretty decent. I'm going to give it an A tier. But when it comes to the skins, and if I just cycle through all of them, they're basically just different colorways. There's literally nothing to it besides the Venom one. And even at this is probably the best skin for this hero. I still don't think it's anything too special, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. So for all of Penny Parker skins, which are basically just different colorway skins on top of the main one, I'm going to have to give them like an F tier for effort. Next we've got Psylocke. Now Psylocke's main skin, there's not really too much going on here, let's be honest. The design is decent for the hero, but I am going to give this one a B tier. Then we also have our Vengeance skin, which in my opinion is arguably worse than the base skin, if I'm being honest with you. So I'm actually going to give this an F tier. I don't like this one whatsoever. Some people will like this design, but then we've got the Blood skin, which again, I'm going to give this one a B tier. I just think there could be a lot more with this hero. Then we've got the alternate colorway skin, which is actually not a bad colorway in general. Again, the base design is just very basic, so again, I'm going to give this B tier. Next up, we've got Rocket. Now, Rocket is one of my favorite Marvel characters, and I think his design is absolutely amazing in this game. I think it's actually an A tier design. There's a lot going on. I like his jetpacks. I like all of it. Then we have his Guardians of the Galaxy skin, which again, there's not really too much different to the base skin here. I actually prefer the base skin, if I'm being honest with you. So this one is going to get a B tier from me. Then we have his alternate colorway skin, which actually does look kind of cool, to be honest. I do actually like the colorway on this design. I just don't think it's absolutely anything special though, so I am going to give this a B tier. Then we have his Battle Pass skin, which is absolutely solid, by the way. I love this design on this one, but I do think this is also an A tier skin. Very nice Rocket skin. It's part of the Battle Pass. Next up, we've got Scarlet Witch. Pretty straightforward hero. There's not really too much going on with her skin in general, so I am going to give this one a B tier. She doesn't look like super cool or anything, and I think they can make better skins for this hero. I think that this is like a B tier skin as well, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. There's not really too much going on here. Then we have her Emporium skin, which I actually think is probably the best skin for the Scarlet Witch, so I'm actually going to give this one an A tier. I think this is probably one of the better ones. And then we have our alternate colorway skin, which is basically a slightly different color. The colorway itself is actually not terrible, to be honest, but I do think it's also B tier as well. Moving on into the main man now, we've got Spider-Man, and I think his base skin is absolutely solid, if I'm being honest with you. There can be slightly more improvements to it, but I do think this is an A tier skin for Spider-Man. He does look extremely cool in terms of character design, so Then we have his No Way Home skin, which is probably the best skin in my opinion. I think this is an absolutely S tier skin for Spider-Man. It just looks really cool. I like the bits of gold in there as well. Then we have the Spider-Man 2 skin, and again, I'm probably going to seem a bit biased here, but this is S tier as well. This is such a cool skin for Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man has most of the skins in this game, and this one is a really, really nice one as well, especially if you've played Spider-Man 2 in general. Then we've got the bag Spider-Man skin. Now, a lot of people like this one, but me personally, I'm not a massive fan of it, if I'm being honest. I think this is B tier. I like the fact that they have redesigned the character a lot, but for me, I just don't think this is cool whatsoever. And then we've got the alternate colorway skin, and I'm not a massive fan of this. They could have went with like the Noir Spider-Man instead if they were just going to change just the colorway. That would have been a lot cooler, but this one in my opinion is very F tier. I don't like this whatsoever. Next up we've got Squirrel Girl. Now I don't think there's too much they could have done with this hero, but the design of this one is very basic in my opinion, so I'm going to give it a B tier. There's not really too much they could have done with this. Then we've got the Urban Hunter skin. Again, I'm not a massive fan of this, I'm being perfectly honest. I kind of understand the route they're trying to go down with this one, but this is an F tier skin for me. I don't really like this whatsoever. Then we've got the Dragoness skin, which is from the update. Then I'm not a massive fan of this one either, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. This is also a B tier. It's probably one of our better ones, but again, it's not great. Then she's got an alternate colorway skin, which again is not great either, so I'm going to give this one an F tier as well. Hopefully she gets some better skins added in the future that are a lot cooler than this. Next up, we've got Star-Lord. Now, I think Star-Lord's design in this game is absolutely perfect, man. It's so good. There's so much good about it. I like the jetpacks, I like his guns, I like just the design, the mask, everything about it. I think this is an absolutely S-tier skin for Star-Lord. The base skin is probably one of the best. Then we've got the Star-Lord Guardians of the Galaxy one. I'm not a massive fan of this again. I just don't think there's too much to it. I'm going to give this a B tier for the skin itself. Then we've got the Master of the Sun skin. I kind of like his hairstyle in this, but the rest of the skin colorway is not too bad. I think this is an A tier skin in general. Then we have the Lion's Mane skin. Now, this is probably one of the better update skins, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, with the event going on. I think it's a B tier one though. I'm not a massive fan of it. Then we have his alternate colorway skin, which is the Jovial Star. And again, this one is pretty solid. I think it's B tier. Red you can't really go wrong with, to be honest, but I think the blue one is just spot on. Next up we have Storm, and I think this is a pretty decent skin. This is probably as good as we can get her without doing anything too crazy to the base design. So in my opinion, I do think this is a B tier skin at the moment. Then we have the Mohawk Rock skin, which I actually really like this one. I don't know why, but I actually think this is really cool. The fact that she doesn't have a cape as well, I actually prefer it, to be honest. So I actually think this is an A tier skin. Then we have the alternate colorway skin for Storm, and I actually like this one better than the black, to be honest, so I prefer this skin. Next up we've got the Punisher. Now the Punisher's base skin is pretty standard, to be honest. There's nothing crazy about it. Like, there's not really anything crazy going on with this skin, so I am going to give this one a B tier. I don't think it's absolutely anything special whatsoever. Then we have the Punisher 2099. Now, I love this skin. I think this is absolutely such an amazing skin in this game. Such a cool design with the mask and everything. This is an absolutely S tier design. Then we've got the Thunderbolt skin. Now, I actually quite like this one. It was in the Season 0 Battle Pass, and you can't get it anymore, unfortunately. But I actually really do like this one. I wish I purchased the battle pass for this skin now, because it actually does look really cool. So this one is a definite A tier skin. I actually like this one a lot. And then we have the camo skin. Now I actually prefer this a little bit better than the base skin. I actually think it adds a little bit more design to his character. I actually quite like this one, to be honest. So I'm also going to give this one A tier as well. Next up we have Thor, and Thor is a cool design in this game. I really like the fact that they went with the grey hair. I really like that a lot. I like the armor on him. I like all that kind of stuff. I think it's a pretty cool skin. So I'm going to give this one A tier for the base character design. Then we have the Love and Thunder skin, which is pretty nice, to be honest. I'm just waiting for the end game skin, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. That one is going to be the best skin for Thor when we get that in this game, hopefully at some point. This one is an A tier skin though for the Love and Thunder. I think it's pretty solid. They redesigned it enough. Next up we've got the Herald of Thunder skin. Now I just think Thor without a beard just looks strange, to be honest, so I actually think this is an F tier skin. And the same goes for the Reborn Again skin from Ragnarok, so I'm not a massive fan of this one either. Then we have the alternate colorway skin. Now this is not too bad actually. This is actually a pretty decent one, especially since they changed his beard color and all that kind of stuff in his hair as well. So I'm going to give this a B tier. I'm kind of just waiting until they add Stormbreaker into this game, because it'll look pretty cool. And the fact that they changed Captain America's shields make me believe they could add Stormbreaker into this one and make it look really, really cool. Next up, we've got Venom, and Venom's base design can't really be changed too much, to be honest. I think they've done the best they could with the design of this. It does look pretty cool. The design itself is good, but again, there's not too much going on. Next up, we've got the Space Knight skin, and I think this is an absolutely solid skin for Venom. I don't know why we don't see this enough in games for people that do main this hero. This is an absolutely S tier skin for Venom. Then we've got the Anti-Venom skin, which I actually really like this one as well. I think this is an A tier skin, definitely very solid. The opposite colorways, but it does look pretty cool. Now, another one I feel like I missed out on was the Venom Christmas skin, man. This skin was so cool. And I wish I could go back and buy some of these ones again. This is an absolutely S tier skin for Venom in my opinion. It just looks insanely cool. Next up, we've got Winter Soldier, and for his base design, it's pretty decent to be honest. There's not really too much they could have done with this one. I like his arm. I think it does look pretty cool in general. So I'm going to give this one an A tier. I do like the design of this. Then we've got his Revolution skin, which kind of looks like something out of Star Wars, to be honest with you. But I actually do like this. I actually think it's a pretty cool design for his skin as well, so I'm also going to give this an A tier. Then we've got his Blood Soldier skin, which again, I also kind of like this one too. I think this is pretty solid as well, so I'm going to give this one an A tier too. There's nothing super special about it, but I do like it. And then we have his alternate colorway skin as well, which is basically blue. I think the colorways go well together, so again, I'm going to give this an A tier as well. Lastly, we've got Wolverine, and for Wolverine's base skin, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not a massive fan of this. Regardless, this skin is a B tier skin in my opinion for Wolverine. I just don't think it's great. Then we've got a Season 1 Battle Pass skin, which I actually think does look pretty cool, to be honest. So this is definitely really, really cool because he's got the red claws. And this is an A tier skin in my opinion. I do think this is a cool one for Wolverine. Then we've got the Deadpool Wolverine skin, which is obviously the S tier skin for Wolverine. This is the one that everyone wants to use. This should have been the base skin, to be honest, but I think they've done it on purpose because they knew people would buy this skin. So I feel like it was done on purpose. But this is the S tier skin that we're looking for Wolverine. Then we've got his alternate colorway skin, which in my opinion is just low effort and the colorway is not great either. So this is F tier. There we have it. That is all the skins in the game. Let me know which one's your favorite. Thank you very much for watching.